Watch this.
You might hear about the horrors of fentanyl decimating big cities, but what you may not know is how it's ravaging rural communities too, like small towns on the Oregon coast, without enough resources to deal with the overdoses.
So they're losing their housing, their medical, their income, their whole source of identity, because now they have to reinvent themselves and figure out who they are.
Members of a Washington tribe say they've been kicked out because they don't have the right paperwork. Now it's unweaving the tight-knit community. There's a different kind of community growing rapidly in Santa Monica. Well, there goes the neighborhood with a rise in rodent residents. Drug overdose deaths dropped significantly in 2024, according to data put out by the Centers for Disease Control this week. A 27% decrease over 2023 to the lowest level in 5 years. Fentanyl continues to be the cause of most of those deaths, but even those fentanyl-related deaths fell even more than that, down 37%. However, the trend is going the other way in a small Oregon coastal town where drug overdoses are actually on the rise. We often hear about the fentanyl crisis being a bigger problem in bigger cities across the region, but drug overdoses know no bounds. And as Blair Best from our sister station in Portland found out, they're happening weekly at a seaside homeless camp in Clatsop County.
Stepping through this seaside encampment,
Cigarette. You need a cigarette?
Lindsay Veenhuis
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
All right.
How's it going?
sees more than most people.
To help kind of connect with people and show them that we care.
She recognizes what those here are going through because she's been in their shoes.
I have slept in those storage units right over there. Yeah.
Lindsay is a recovery ally with Clatsop Behavioral Health Care.
And now I work with the team that helped me get sober.
She connects people on the streets with addiction and housing services.
I was actually a heroin addict, so it was kind of before the fentanyl was around, and I'm very fortunate for that, actually.
Since the start of this year, 19 people have died from an overdose in Clatsop County, 16 of those from fentanyl.
Yeah, so.
Lindsay knew 5 of them.
It's terrifying. It's really scary.
Many others are overdosing and surviving. One woman told us it happens out here a lot.
I just run to wherever somebody's screaming help.
She didn't want to show her face, but tells us she stays at this seaside camp. She tries to help when she thinks someone is overdosing.
The first thing I do is see if they're breathing, which usually they're not.
How often does this happen?
At least weekly. I mean, there's probably somebody dead, probably at least twice a week.
Michael knows what that's like.
Well, being someone that's died like that before and come back, well, I'd say, it's pretty sad, actually.
How many times have you overdosed?
I don't know, 5 or 6.
When you're on fentanyl and you're hooked on that stuff, like, you really don't care or think about much. You just want to not be sick.
It makes you feel really powerless on how to get a handle on things. So.
Trista Boudon.
Yep, this is our rapid access clinic. It is open Monday through Friday from 8 to 5.
Works in recovery services at Clatsop Behavioral Health Care.
We're going to all of the camps. We're going all across the county. We're seeing it in the homes, but a lot of people just see it outside the homes. This is not just an unhoused population person issue. The substance use does not discriminate.
What we're looking at right now are different gauge syringes.
At the county level, Nadine Campbell Davis is part of the harm reduction team.
So this is our harm reduction vehicle. This is mobile.
Each week, they park it in Astoria and Seaside. It's filled with drug supplies and other resources.
So we have tourniquets, we have saline, we have alcohol wipes, we have cottons.
Last year, they gave out 1,100 kits of Narcan. So far this year, 500.
I don't think it's enabling the crisis. I think what it is doing, it is helping our community by destigmatizing.
On average, Nadine says, one person each week will agree to treatment.
It's a tough one. It's hard. I'm with the clients every week. I see them, I hear their stories, I see their faces, I see their pain.
We're really working to give people as many off-ramps as possible before they get to overdose.
And compared to urban areas, those on the coast say it's a tougher fight here.
Resources are more scarce. They're very far apart. We don't have as much infrastructure for transportation.
It's kind of just whatever we tend to bring that day, and people are like really grateful for it. So
The drugs know no boundaries.
Clatsop County Sheriff Matt Phillips wishes they could do more to stop the flow of fentanyl into the community.
One of the challenges has been staffing levels. I have commitment from the other 5 chiefs of police in Clatsop County that they would love to staff up a team to focus on drug dealers and crimes related to substance abuse and use. And right now, most of the agencies aren't fully staffed.
Still, they're doing what they can.
With the purchase of this machine, we can run the toxicology the same day if necessary.
The sheriff's office just got this new testing device. It confirms in real time if fentanyl was the cause of a fatal overdose. They're the first county in the state to have such a tool.
One of the challenges with tracking overdose deaths is the length of time it takes to get toxicology results from the state.
As for those non-fatal ODs, like the ones happening in this seaside camp,
we really know about very few of the overdoses because of the proliferation of Narcan in the community. It makes it a challenge to understand the scope of the problem.
a problem that's only getting worse.
You wonder how people could live like this? Well, it's easy if you have fentanyl. You could be comfortable anywhere, and it's just the way it is.
For so many on the streets, no matter the city, drugs are what is keeping them there. It may not be how they got there, but it does make getting off the streets much more difficult. With fentanyl being what it is, it allows people to cope with, living in a tent in the cold, and not to mention the myriad of other dangers that come with street life. As agencies try to keep pace with this crisis as best they can with limited resources, there have been some successes. When Oregon's law changed this past September, making possession of user amounts of hard drugs a crime again, the governor encouraged all counties to create deflection programs, options for treatment over jail for people caught solely with possession. Believe it or not, Clatsop County's deflection program is one of those places that is having success. Clatsop Behavioral Healthcare Recovery Services Assistant Manager said multiple people have graduated that program who are no longer using drugs. A Western Washington tribe is getting smaller. Our Facing Race team looks into why dozens of members of the Squaxin Island tribe are being removed from the tribal rolls over documentation. Well, just because we're looking beyond the 208 doesn't mean we don't want to hear from those of you within the 208 or beyond. We take your takes too on what we've talked about today or any day this week. Text us 208-321-5614. The number is still the same, and so is the hashtag, the 208. And your name would also be appreciated. That way we know it's you if we share yours at the end of the show. A painful chapter is unfolding within a Western Washington tribe. Dozens of members have been told soon they will no longer belong. For many, it's not just a loss of benefits, but a loss of identity, family, and history. Some Squaxin Island tribal members got a letter calling them to a hearing, and they were asked to bring documents to show they really are Squaxin. And if they couldn't prove it, well, they were out. And unfortunately, many just didn't have the documents, or their documents simply didn't match official records. Sharon Yu from our sister station in Seattle shows us how the move is tearing a community apart.
This is a different letter that came from my great-grandmother.
Sally Brownfield's home in Shelton proudly displays her roots.
This was my great-grandmother, Mary Frances Smith.
Family pictures on the wall show where she came from, and tribal decorations show who she is.
I go by my great-grandmother's name, Saspalitza.
A proud Squaxin Island tribal member.
Well, I was told by the old people that it meant like weaving.
But now, with a single letter, her tribe erased her identity.
Is there your name on there?
Yeah, my name is...
She had 30 days to prove.
Right here.
She's a descendant of people listed in the tribal rolls and is at least 1/8 Squaxin. Sally was told she was not.
My family has lived right here since the mid-1800s. What hurts me most about this whole thing is the erasure of my mother.
Sally says her mother, Sally Selvage, fought for tribal health care.
They were going to build this casino, and my mother was fighting tooth and nail. Our people deserve good health care. And they came to her deathbed, and the whole council came, and they promised her it would be done.
And that clinic on the Squaxin tribal land bears her mother's name, Sally Selvage Health Center. A clinic where Sally Brownfield can visit, but no longer receive care. Health care, quarterly checks from the tribe, reservation housing rights, all vanished with her tribal status.
So the audit shows Sally Selvage was not Squaxin.
This is correct.
Chris Peters, the Squaxin tribal chairman, says the Squaxin voters asked for an audit of the rolls. The Squaxin tribe has about 1,300 enrolled members and is one of the smallest federally recognized tribes in Washington state.
We've been hearing complaints about our enrollment files. People are suspicious about the inaccuracies, or are they being consistently applied, our rules?
As a result, 43 people, including Sally, were disenrolled in February.
I feel really bad for those folks.
Is it not true that the slice of the pie just gets bigger if it's cut in fewer slices?
No, because it's not based on a percentage. We don't have, if we have this many people and this much money, they get this much money. It's a set amount.
This crisis extends far beyond the Squaxin tribe. According to Cornell University, over 80 federally recognized tribes across the U.S. have gone through disenrollment. And in the past 2 decades, some estimate at least 11,000 individuals have been exiled from their tribes, including the Nooksack in Whatcom County, which in March kicked out its last disenrolled member from its land, 306 people in total. Jamie Queen, who was also disenrolled from the Squaxin tribe, worries most about vulnerable tribal members.
Elders are getting cut off their income checks. They're getting cut off the treaty rights. Some people lived off of that for their entire life. They no longer have that. So they're losing their housing, their medical, their income, their whole source of identity, because now they have to reinvent themselves and figure out who they are. If they told me today, you are now re-enrolled, I'm going to tell them to shove it up their ass. I don't want to be enrolled, but to make right for me, I want a letter for my son.
Queen says she wants her late son,
He was a good kid, wasn't a bad kid at all,
who is technically still enrolled Squaxin, to be officially disenrolled too.
I have his ashes, but he's still hanging. His spirit? Yeah, and it's not okay. He's coming with us.
It's just upsetting to see what's happening to the families.
Elder and former tribal councilman Davey Whitener says he's shed tears over stories of disenrolled people. While he remains safe,
I don't know what next.
He's fighting for others who are losing everything.
It's unstable. It's like you don't know what's going to come next. We don't know that it's over. I would guess you're feeling like you're being separated from your family, like you're being told, we don't want you anymore. That is, like, emotionally and even spiritually, one of the worst things you can do.
We know who we are. We are from this place, this ground right here.
And the uncertainty is what keeps Sally Brownfield up at night.
I don't know what's going to happen. I'm scared about that part.
Well, the tribe says they are not disenrolling anyone else at this point. And in a meeting earlier this month, the chairman said only 2 people spoke out against the removal process. Now, an Eastern Oregon newspaper known for its in-depth investigative reporting is shutting down. For more than 100 years, the Malheur Enterprise has served residents of Malheur County. Les Zeitz, a former investigative reporter with the Oregonian, has owned and operated the paper for the past 10 years, but now he says he's ready to retire. Over the past decade, he says the paper has bucked nationwide trends and has actually grown in distribution. He attributes the success to the Enterprise's investigative reporting. The paper has won many national awards, but the closure leaves Malheur County now without a local source of news.
The presumption in rural areas is that no one's paying attention, nobody's interested, and that's absolutely not true. We found a readership intently interested in our monitoring of county government, city government, of how people were spending taxpayer money.
Well, Zeitz said he did look into someone and tried to get someone to buy the paper, but he couldn't find anyone with the business and the journalism background needed to take it over. So the paper will close at the end of May. We're continuing our trek beyond the borders of Idaho, where California residents are trying to figure out a way to politely exclude a flurry of unwanted furry animals. All right, is there an infestation of squirrels or any other wild creature in your neighborhood? We'd love to know about it. We'd also take your questions, your comments, and your concerns. Just text them, 208-321-5614. As always, include your name and the hashtag #the208. As you're probably aware, Santa Monica, California is known for its beach and the pier that's there, and it appears you can add squirrels to that list. The city is asking people to not feed the animals, but few seem to be listening to that advice. And as Gordon Takamatsu tells us, the squirrel population at one park has gone nuts.
To say there are dozens of them would be an understatement, more like hundreds. And these are only the ones you can see with your eyes here at Palisades Park.
Yeah, is this normal? We don't know.
Stroll over to Cliff's Edge overlooking Pacific Coast Highway and you can see where they live. Adults, males, females, and youngsters. They're inside those tunnels. In fact, ground squirrel litters tend to arrive 7 or 8 at a time.
I would say it's not good.
This man, who identifies himself with one attention-getting name, says he loves interacting with the fluffy rodents. In fact, he practices Tai Chi here with them as his audience. But he's concerned.
They are eroding the cliffs.
Oh, I see.
Otherwise, they're beautiful to look at.
The reason is they're being fed here. And now they're not afraid of humans at all. Our cameras captured several folks, unclear if they're locals or visitors, feeding the squirrels right here on the grass. In the bushes, there are plastic trays people have left behind with water or food in them. It's true, they make great subject matter for selfies and memories for the kids.
They seem to be loving all the attention.
But if you want to save these cliffs from eroding any more than they are, says Mike Bondlander, you should heed the signs the city has placed nearby. Don't feed them. He fears that if things get any worse, drastic measures may have to be employed.
They need to do something to control them. You don't want to poison them because other animals eat them and then they eat the poison.
And that would be bad for everyone, not just the whisker twitchers looking for a handout here on the grass.
Lots of pretty rainbows seen this week as we continue to see those showers come and go. Over the past few days, we did have some showers in the Treasure Valley earlier today, but for the second half of the day, they pretty much tapered off. There's still some activity happening in other parts of Idaho. Most of it is on the eastern side. There were some showers in eastern Oregon as well, but they seem to be dissipating before making it to the Treasure Valley this afternoon. So this is what it looks like outside. It looks like it could storm, but we're not expecting rain to come through this evening. It's going to be pretty cloudy the rest of the evening, but in the low 60s, pretty mild overall. If you want to avoid wet and windy weather this weekend, you might want to get outside tonight because it is going to be pretty calm. Sun goes down at 9:05 p.m. That's our sunset, but clouds are pretty much covering it at this point. Tomorrow morning, those showers will roll in around 8 a.m., possibly a little earlier. There will be times during the day tomorrow when we'll see heavy rainfall. Even isolated thunderstorms are a possibility as we get closer to the afternoon hours. Come Sunday, we're going to see a little bit of a different change. Winds are going to be the main concern. Although showers could linger, we're going to see snow levels drop some as well to 4,000 to 5,000 feet. So there could be some light snow accumulation by the end of the weekend overall. Looking at our current setup, you can see we have this cold front here and low pressure system that is making its way onshore for the weekend. Now, total rainfall, we will see some measurable precipitation this weekend. By tomorrow, we're not going to see a ton in Boise, maybe 1/10 of an inch. Ontario could see about 1/3 of an inch. Long Valley, maybe 1/4 of an inch. But then by the end of the weekend, by Sunday, that's when we're going to see the most. Boise has potential to see up to 1/2 inch. McCall, West Central Mountains could see up to 1 inch of precipitation by the end of the weekend. Now, I mentioned those storm chances for tomorrow afternoon. This green shaded area is showing where that is a possibility. As you can see, all of Idaho is included in the chance of seeing non-severe storms. Not a guarantee, but we have the ingredients in the atmosphere so that those storms are a possibility this weekend. Now, come Monday, we're looking to warm up a little more, looking into the 60s. We're sticking in below average temperatures for the time being, but you can see that Saturday and Sunday are first alert weather days because your activities are likely to be impacted Saturday mostly by the rain, but by Sunday we're going to be impacted by those strong winds and then warming up by the end of next week.
All right, no better way to wrap up the week than some of your messages. Deb says, thank you for the compassion reporting on drug overdoses. It's a complex issue that never seems to get sufficient resources to resolve the problem. Meanwhile, Chuck in Boise, the removal of tribal members, not unlike what is happening with residents in the GOP states. Why would any politician or political entity eliminate members? Pretty disgusting. I heard that or saw that, Chuck, and I thought maybe you're talking about people getting pushed out of the party because they're not Republican enough, but I see what you're saying now. It's nice to hear about things going on in neighboring states, says Bill. Makes me glad I'm in Idaho. Meanwhile, this one from something we talked about earlier this week, Sarah Inama resigning from her job at West Ada School District. Thank you for your excellent coverage of the Everyone is Welcome Here poster story. If you can please suggest Sarah donate the poster to a civil rights museum. She's going to hold on to it and probably put it up in her next classroom. After that, we'll see. She might decide to donate it. We'll see what happens with that. All right, how about the infestation of rats and eagles, says Phyllis. Yeah, or the bunnies on the Boise bench. Remember when there were too many crows in Nampa? I wish there were too many butterflies.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.